Hello and welcome to what may be our final regional report out call. This is the Kansas City Metro at 1 o'clock. We're grateful to have everybody here. And let me start just by thanking all of our wonderful volunteers who have week in, week out gotten on these calls and helped us to know what we're dealing with. With the numbers getting better, we're going to put this program on hiatus. And if they get worse, we'll pick it back up. But we still have one last report out for you. And let me dive into the numbers real quick, and then we'll hear from the people really making it happen. So, all right. The dashboard's going to look a little different this week. The most up-to-date information we have is on the rolled up statewide one. So you can see the Kansas City Metro here across the top. I thought the best way to share the improvement would be by looking at a month ago, January 18th, where we were. And so the number of COVID patients in the KC Metro area was showing at 775 a month ago. Now it's 375. The COVID patients in the ICU was 181 January 18th. Now it's 91. Adult staffed ICU beds available a month ago was 131. Now it's 166. And we've moved from 21% capacity up to 30% capacity, which is great news as far as the improvement goes. And what you can see here as I come to the third page, bundled up Kansas City, Kansas, and the Northeast region, you can see the case count continue to fall here through this region. Good numbers there. Now I'm going to come over and look at KDHE's site because I just think it paints a picture. This is the statewide numbers. This is the Kansas City Metro numbers, and this is the number of cases through their testing. And you can see it just dropping here from near the beginning of January of 3,000 down this past week to 1,300 cases. And they also have a good one on the percent positivity that I'll show you here too in the Kansas City Metro. You can see the last 2 weeks below 5% on the positivity rate, which is another just great indicator. And while I have your attention, I'm going to go to the vaccine website, kansasvaccine.gov, and you can see where we're at. 10% now of our state's population is vaccinated. Just great site here. You can see we're over 100,000 now have gotten the second dose and are fully vaccinated. And great just to see the breakdown and how it's going through the state and the per county breakdown. It's just a great site. And I also will point out, and we'll come back to it, but the Find My Vaccine link on here too, where you can come down and come into your region and see where there are vaccine distribution as it populates on this map, as you can see right there. So that's the great rundown. I tried to move fast for you because it's all really consistent and good news through the month of January into the month of February. Outside of the Chiefs losing and the cold weather, things seem to be trending in the right direction for us. So let me come back to this wonderful group of folks, and we'll kick it over to Steve Mayhew in public health just to give us an update of what's going on in their world. Steve.
Sure. Steve Mayhew with the Johnson County Department of Health and Environment. As John just showed, the numbers are trending in the right direction. When you see the decrease in cases along with a decrease in percent positivity, that's really encouraging. If one of those is up and one was down, we might, dive into that a little bit deeper. But with both of those heading on a downward trend, that's really just encouraging. And it shows us that, things like wearing masks and social distancing that we've been doing and encouraging has been helping. And also with the vaccine rollout, I think we're starting to see, with 10% of the state being immunized, that's great. We've got a long ways to go. But again, vaccine rates are going up, disease trends are going down. It's what we would choose if we had that option. And so I think that there's, as vaccine rollout is continuing, and I think Dr. Nielsen might have some updates on that for us. So I won't, jump in front, but, we continue to receive vaccine. We continue to get out to hospital partners and into arms. And so, that's our main push, and we'll just continue on. Like I said, it's a long road ahead, but, this is the road we want to be on. So.
And Steve, in your area, if someone wants to know when they're eligible, do they contact the health department, or is on their on the website, or what's the best way to know?
Yeah, so health departments in the metro area are putting everything out on social media. There are press releases. Each county is a little bit different because the size of the population and availability of vaccine is a little bit different. And so I know in Johnson County, we prioritized individuals for phase 2 who are over 80 years of age. Some counties are diving right in at 65, and it's really just a numbers game. We have, I think I mentioned last time, almost 100,000 people over the age of 65 in our county. And so we certainly needed to do that sub prioritization. But yeah, check our website, social media, press releases for whose turn it is when, and we update that probably almost every day.
Thank you, Steve. Now let me pass it over to Bryant McNally to give us a report from the hospitals.
Yeah, thanks, John. Again, Bryant McNally with Kansas City Metropolitan Healthcare Council. Have to fill in for Kenny. I guess he decided to take the day off or something. It's too cold. I don't know. No, he gave us an advance warning. But a couple of things I think from the hospital setting that we want everybody to remember. One is if you think about kind of the extreme cold weather has had an impact on, the testing and the mass vaccination type clinics that you would see. So if you see some numbers go down over the next 2 weeks, it's going to be tied a lot to just the, people basically sheltered in place really throughout this cold spell and the bad weather. The other thing that really want to highlight and bring to everybody's attention is don't delay care. That's one of the things that as we've gotten a little bit deeper into this, you're starting to see some more of the unintended consequences, I think, of that care delay. I think a good example was the University of Kansas Health System did a session yesterday talking about cancer rates, and the number of cases that they're seeing are about half of normal. Well, the population didn't all of a sudden get healthier and have less cancer. There might be a little bit less, but it's not going to be this widespread big dip. And it's attributable likely to, people delaying and avoiding care. So, as we see the numbers continue to trend in a positive direction, do, re-engage with your healthcare providers around preventative care and the like, because, delaying care does and will have long-term negative consequences for you. So, John, that's really the key message that we wanted to share as a hospital community today.
Thank you, Brian. I appreciate it very much. And we have our friend Dr. Watson with us from Cheyenne Mountain Software as far as the transfer situation, what you're seeing there with mission control. Dr. Watson.
Yeah, great. If you can give me the screen, I will show you a couple things.
Yep.
Yeah, echoing the fact that ER numbers are actually down across the board to some extent. And part of that is obviously the flu season didn't kick in as much as had in the past. But I do think there are a lot of people who really would typically end up in the ER who are not going there. And I really echo that same thing. Don't delay care. But hospital capacities across the state, a lot better. I mean, we've got a majority of green here, and this is what we're seeing almost always now is a lot of capacity in the system. That equates to better numbers across the board, and certainly our wait times are markedly down, particularly for COVID patients. Our COVID percentage now, when we were, the end of November, December, we were in the 40 to 45% range. We're now 10% of the transfers are now COVID, and we're seeing acuity levels are still about the same as they have been, but realizing a lot of these now are non-COVID patients that are moving by normal channels. So I think across the state, capacity's opened up. The transfer picture looks like it's approaching where we usually are, other than the decreased in volume. And then I think also that the number of people who are trying to find beds being particularly down in the low teens as opposed to 40% plus before speaks to the capacity as well. And I think as we, as we put these on hiatus, I think the big thing here is that we need to reflect. And I think we'll have some time to reflect over these next couple months. There may be a spring spike that we have to deal with, but certainly the lessons learned here, we don't want to lose that idea that there are a lot of things that we've learned in these last months, particularly that we definitely don't want to lose the knowledge base that we've formed here. And I hope everybody on each of these calls is able to at least some way codify the things that they've learned and make them available. I know there'll be a lot of retrospective look at what's happened here.
Thank you, Dr. Watson. It's a great thought. And with us also, I'm gonna and if you'll pass the hosting back to me, Dr. Watson, when you're done. We have another doctor with us, Dr. Nielsen, to help give an update on the statewide vaccination efforts and what's going on there. We're grateful. She's very busy. This is the only call she's able to make. So KC Metro, you're lucky to have her. Dr. Nielsen, if you can give us an update on what's going on in your world, we're glad to have you here.
You bet. I love hearing all this great news, and couldn't agree more with Steve that, you know, the numbers of vaccines going up, good thing, cases and deaths going down, everything moving in the right direction. But his emphasis on the fact that we still have a lot more work to do is absolutely the case. I am guessing that most folks who are tuning in today, John, are interested in learning a little bit more about high priority populations that the governor wants to ensure that we are taking good care of. So I might just start by previewing a little bit. You'll be hearing more from the governor this week about ways to get teachers vaccinated. The age 65 and older population, I think folks tuning in are probably aware of the two federal programs, one focused on long-term care, the other focused on retail pharmacies. So those are going to, those federal doses are in some ways under state control of where they go. So stay tuned for that. You'll be hearing more about that from the governor tomorrow. But I know certainly in the Kansas City, Johnson County, Wyandotte, folks are also anxious to learn more about the urban-rural divide. We have had several questions both by reporters as well as by constituents. You know, we look at some of the data, John, that you were showing on the dashboard, and it appears as though counties that are large and urban are getting less vaccine per capita than some of the smaller, more rural counties. And I want to be able to explain that a little bit today. I'm happy to answer questions, and I don't need to get really deep in the weeds, but kind of first things first, it is that we have been ensuring that we send vaccine to all the counties in Kansas, rural counties. And I think most folks recognize that 100 doses is the least amount of vaccine that you can send. So that is in part why you see some of the difference in reporting that I know folks are a little bit curious about in the Kansas City area. But you also have a couple other factors, again, kind of in the weeds and technical, but the fact that urban areas are the ones that receive the Pfizer doses because they require ultra cold storage. And as of the last few weeks, we've been receiving less Pfizer. So if you are an urban center, you're getting Pfizer, and the Moderna vaccine is heading out to rural counties, and we've been getting more Moderna. So that has in part added to this issue. Having said that, we are trying to counteract in a couple of different ways and ensure that urban counties are getting their fair share. One is to build in a social vulnerability index. So for those populations that are at the highest risk of illness and death, we are building into the allocation a factor that helps to account for that. But secondly, and I do appreciate folks kind of emphasizing this fact over and over again, there are rural counties that don't need more vaccine. And we will be leveling the playing field in the weeks to come. So there is a balancing there. There are other ways in which we are anticipating some balancing. So the retail pharmacy program, as it comes in online. We are anticipating that helps level the playing field, but I do hear folks' concern and recognize it and understand where it's coming from, and think that we can and will do a better job of sharing data to assuage folks' concern. And maybe I just saw John leave, so I might take over and say, Steve, would you have any additional questions to ask on that front?
Sorry about that. I had to let a dog in before she barked. Yeah.
No,
We'll
no
open up to
worries.
anybody. Steve, Bryant, Rich, Dr. Watson, anything that you guys would want to ask Marcy to clarify on, or anything that you think would help, particularly this region, to hear about? I'll ask a question if they don't have one. So Juan, can you speak to, we've read and heard that we've gone from 45 to 50,000 a week in vaccines, maybe soon up to 80 or 90,000 into the state. Is that right? Or do you know when that will happen? Because obviously that'll help too.
Yeah, so when you look at that headline that was in this week's newspaper, and they talked about kind of the doubling the rates, that's really over the course of the last month. So this week was 90,000 doses, and we anticipate both an increase in the prime doses, boost doses, but then also as the retail pharmacy program grows, you will see an expansion of doses, and then you'll see as the CVS and Walgreens doses that were not used for the long-term care facilities, as they come back to the state, that too, you'll see that bumping up the numbers. Of course, that particular data point, right? Those vaccines were already distributed to Kansas, but they haven't been administered. So lots of technicalities as folks try to look at kind of simple dashboards and compare apples to apples. That would be the other thing, John, that I might talk a little bit about. And again, I know it's something that folks in Kansas have spent a lot of time and energy trying to better understand. We know that Kansas appears to lag behind other states in terms of vaccinating our population. And as I've said to you and others before, it's not really an accurate view of the success that local health departments are having in terms of getting vaccines into arms. But we do need to do some things differently from a data reporting perspective in order to ensure that we that we have those accurate numbers that we can share with the feds, and that will ensure that Kansas gets its fair share of vaccine. Fair to say, and I think folks have heard me say this before, there are a number of potential reasons for this administration gap that do predominantly relate to data. So we've got lags in provider reporting. We've got back-end IT issues with data transfer and transferring of vaccines. We've got doses being redistributed by providers that aren't reflected in the reporting. And then we do have some providers holding doses in inventory. We want them to get those doses out in 7 days. Some providers are holding vaccine back for mass vaccination events. So all of these things we're trying to untangle, and you'll be hearing more this week about some new requirements we're going to put into place to help solve this data reporting issue. We'll be talking to local public health departments and providers about what are essentially some workarounds that have appeared to be successful in other states, and ways in which KDHE and our partners can jump in and help ameliorate some of these data reporting issues that providers are having. So I'm going to stop there and see if folks have questions. The governor will be alluding to this tomorrow, and there will be trainings around some of these ways in which we're going to address these data gaps.
Any questions from the group? Okay, I have one more. So Marcy, or Dr. Nielsen, apologize. On these.
You can call me Marcy. All my students do.
So on these calls as we're going out, this being our final one for now, hopefully we won't need them again. As we're painting a picture for what the next couple months might look like from a vaccination standpoint, are you able to paint a picture that would help people know what to expect as far as, when Johnson & Johnson comes online and as the pharmacy program gets rolled out, how quickly we may be moving out of phase 2 into phase 3 into mass vaccination events? Do you have any sense of a foreshadowing of what people can expect the next 90 to 120 days?
Well, certainly an increase in vaccine in the state, and what we will do with those vaccines, as we all talk about, we will get them into arms just as quickly as possible. John, you're alluding to mass vaccination events, which we know the White House is prioritizing, and we intend to prioritize too. As you stated before, really hard to do when it's this cold. So all of these new ways in which to get vaccines into arms is, of course, related to supply, but we also have to have enough providers who are teed up and ready to give doses. We have been relying on a local public health infrastructure to give out vaccine. You can expect to see more of that as they build up their capacity. We're also talking about ways in which we can partner with additional providers, so that we are ensuring folks are able to get vaccine in as a convenient place as possible. We'll be talking a lot about vaccine hesitancy. Right now, we're talking all about the lack of supply and folks who want to get vaccinated. But soon we're going to be talking about having lots of vaccine and not having people willing to get vaccinated. So we anticipate that that's a shift that will happen, that will certainly need partnership from the community, and in particular, the physician community. We know that the single best way to influence individuals to get vaccinated, if they have hesitancy, is by engaging their physician, and their physician asking them and explaining the importance. So all of those kind of partnerships, you can anticipate growing, and a lot of the planning for that is happening now. We definitely want to do that in collaboration with folks and best understand how to do that. But I think you can expect to see the role of the local public health departments being kind of the framework and foundation for that.
Wonderful. Thank you, Dr. Nielsen. Steve, Dr. Watson, Bryant, anything else you'd like to add or questions? I know Dr. Nielsen's got to run to the meeting with the governor. Anybody have something? Let me go on a bright spot here. I think you'll like this, Dr. Nielsen, too. So I'll catch you while you're still here. So I'm sharing my screen. It's a YouTube channel here. The bright spot's coming out of Southwest Kansas, and it's a great story, as reported. Two physician assistants, Erin Keeley and her colleague Rachel Sfati, are practicing in Southwest Kansas, where half the population in the Kansas Triangle, which is liberal, Dodge City and Garden City, speak another language. And they have Somali neighbors and decided they needed to make a video to explain what was going on with COVID and the vaccine in particular in their language. And they realized that needed to go much further than that. So they found translators, and you can see here, they've posted these videos and all these.
That's fantastic.
Arabic and Burmese and Spanish and Somali, and all kinds of languages here, where they found translators and had the conversation to get out there. And it's starting to spread. And I think when you take all these videos together, there were 1,500 views, but just really neat to see two people stepping in to care for their neighbor. The page is called "It's a Beautiful Day in Our Neighborhood." That separates it from the great Fred Rogers quote there. But
I love it.
and obviously useful for anybody in the state. But just thought it was a great bright spot to catch, and appreciate the inspiration of Aaron and Rachel and the way they're caring for their community and our state. And with that,
yeah, hats off to Aaron and Rachel. And to that end, we are going to really need to have a concerted effort around communities of color and ensure that communities that speak a different language have access to this information in their own language. So this is actually very timely, because the meeting I'm about to go into is on this topic.
well, there you go. You can walk in with a bright spot.
And I speak Thai, and I noticed that there was no Thai translation. So I'm going to volunteer for the Thai translation.
I can offer nothing on that.
There's Pig Latin. There are ways to speak another language quickly, John.
Yes. Thank you.
I eat a lot of Thai food. Does that count?
That's right.
That counts. That absolutely counts for something. It's the best food in the world.
Well, let me wrap up here just by thanking everybody. No one got paid extra to sit on these calls. That was all volunteer, and 9 weeks dedicating every Tuesday afternoon to this. Steve, thank you for what you've done to serve your region. Always serve Johnson County. Bryant, even though you're not here, Dr. Watson, Marcy, Dr. Nielsen, thank you all very much for serving your region this way and in so many other ways as well. And until we meet again, my friends, everybody, if you're following this, if we do have to pick this back up, we will send an email letting you know that we're coming on with some kind of update around something. We have the infrastructure all in place, and we'll keep it up there. But the email, this one and the dashboard to go out. If you still want to sign up, if you haven't gotten your email in there, covid.ks.gov/report-outs. Everybody, thank you very much. And I hope
and thank you to John. Applause for your initiative here. This is so awesome that we get this opportunity.
Thanks, Dr. Nielsen. All right, everybody. Have a great
Bye
afternoon.
all. Thank you.
Thank you.